Hi, once again, Grace Boji from Boji Farms, found in Uganda, Rakai district, at the border of Uganda and Tanzania. Our farm is a mixed farm. Are you new to our channel and you want to hear about us? Please subscribe and also click on that notification bell to alert you every time our video is loading. Our topic for today, we want to talk about some of those factors one should consider if you are going to start out on as a mixed farmer on your particular farm. I've already told you, Boji Farms, we are into goat farming. We started with goats, then we went on with sheep. Now we are into coffee and bananas. But there are factors we followed to choose those kind of projects before diving in fully. As Boji Farms, before we started mixed farming, there are some factors we considered to choose those kind of projects we have on our farm. We just didn't wake up out of the blue and we said we want sheep and we said we want coffee. There are those particular factors, and those factors are the ones we want us to share today, so that each farmer out there, if you would want to try out mixed farming, what are some of those things, the nitty-gritty? What are some of those factors you should consider before you dive in as a mixed farmer? After you have bought land, you should consider, you look at your neighborhood. If, for example, you want to farm goats, is your neighborhood doing the same business as you? You want to plant some matoke. Is your neighborhood planting the same matoke as you? Why is neighborhood a key factor for you to make a decision on what project to take on your farm? Reason being, for example, in 2015 when I was starting, I realized a number of my neighbors were into goat farming, but they were on subsistence way of farming. And I said, I'm also not going to change myself from the rest. I'm going to do goat farming, but on a commercial basis, and I'm not going to consider myself a subsistence farmer. Why was it like that? Why didn't I go into cattle farming? Why didn't I go into sheep farming there and then? Why? I realized that in case at any one given time, there is a buyer for our goats, especially at the farm, and maybe I may not have enough goats, it is easier for me to run to my neighbors to buy from them or to get stock from the neighborhood and fill up with mine so that I can supply my person who is buying from me goats. The same used to happen with our matoke here, that, for example, I would load at least a truck of matoke per month. But there are those bad months where buyers would come, they want a full truck, but I cannot fill it up because of the bad weather or the bad season. But what they would do, they would come get all the matoke I had, and then they go in the neighbors, they fill up. You get my point, guys. Basically, it is best you first look at what your neighbors are doing, and also you consider yourself doing the same exact project. At the same time also, it isn't accessibility and also service providing, especially in terms of government. For example, if you are men in an area, like this year alone, I was one of the beneficiaries that have gotten an irrigation equipment. I think it is World Bank. Because most of the people around here, they are into coffee farming. So it was easier for government to identify us because we are many in my village, and a number of us have benefited from those irrigation equipment. Unlike when you are alone in a particular area doing that particular project, you may not benefit from the incentives from government, NGOs, etc. The other factor to consider is the capital, the amount of money one has. If you are one person with less capital, it helps you to budget and see which projects to venture into, which projects not to venture into. Like I always tell you, in 2015, I started with 5 million Ugandan shillings. By then, that was $1,200. But I started with goat farming because I did not have enough capital. But after making some little sales, and I realized that goat farming cannot give me money on a daily basis because I really wanted to earn. Remember, I'd resigned from my jobs from Kampala. I had to think of something to do. And one of the things I started on was bean farming, growing beans. I also started growing some maize. I also started growing some Irish. But eventually I threw away with the Irish because the market for the Irish potatoes was tricky. And remember, Irish is a perishable crop. You cannot hold on it when the prices are really bad. The level of capital at any one given moment determines the type of projects you are going to invest on your farm. The farmers watching me, some of you easily get excited by just that adrenaline running in your body because you're opening up another project. But after you have started and you're having 3 or 4 projects on your farm and none is having any profit, you're not making any money from it, that's when you realize the grave mistake you made. So my advice on this one, however much capital you have, whether little or a lot of it, I would advise, if you are to start a project, please first start one project at a go, and you give it like a period of at least a minimum of at least 2 years, and then it starts giving you profits. And then the profits accrued from this project, it's the money you use to start up another project. Some of these things, I'm speaking them from the bottom of my heart because these are some of the mistakes, the grave mistakes I made in 2016. I almost succumbed to depression. How did it happen? Out of excitement, after starting my goat farm, it was 1 year, and I had not even started realizing any profit out of it. I sold like 30 goats from my goat farm, and then I started off a 5-acre banana plantation. Remember, growing bananas is a long-term project. It does not give you money on, in the beginning, it does not give you money on a monthly basis. I had to wait for another full year for me to earn from it. But yet, if I had waited on maybe for another 2 years before starting my banana plantation, maybe I wouldn't have dived into depression. To avoid wastage of resources, I would also advise, if you are to dive into mixed farming, consider projects that are interconnected to one another. What do I mean they're interconnected? That basically at any one given point, one project shares the resources of the other for it to survive. How? For example, I'm telling you I started goat farming, but I was not yet earning from it. That is the mistake I did, and I entered into another project. But the other smile I had, when I started matoke or banana farming, the manure from the goats I would take to my banana plantation. So for those of you who saw my banana plantation in 2015, 2016, it was looking right now. We have intercropped it with beans, and it's not looking so nice because of the intercropping. But in 2015, 2017, 2019, I think I had one of the best banana plantations in Rakai, and it was giving me the heaviest and the biggest bananas. Reason being, I was getting the manure from the goats. The same thing with the sheep farming. Why I consider myself entering into sheep farming? Reason being that most of the resources that I will need to run a goat farm are almost the same resources I need to run a sheep farm, because the medication I use in the goats, I'm not going to buy different medicine to cater for the sheep. So I will run to the goat cabin and then go and treat my sheep. Similarly, when people come here and they want to buy goats, they will not fail to ask for sheep. So they always go together. That is the interconnectedness. Look for something that feeds into the other project. Don't look for a project, especially if you are considering mixed farming, a project that is not considerably not related at all to the projects that you started with in the beginning. Some other point you should consider when you are starting a mixed farm, you have to categorize your projects into short-term, long-term, or mid-term. These are 3 types of projects. Some of us, when we went into these classes in the early years, they told us always first look for long-term and then go for mid-term and short-term. Some of you may wonder, now what are examples of short-term and what are examples of mid-term? Short-term I would consider like projects that do not take like 3 months, not more than 3 months to mature. For example, beans farming, maize, Irish potato, they are all short-term crops. Vegetable growing, these are crops that can give you an income every after 3 months. That sure deal, you are getting money out of what? Mid-term, these may be crops or projects or something that may give you money every after like maybe 6 months or less, in between 3 to 6 months. And one of them is poultry farming. For example, if you consider yourself a Croider farmer, you can still earn money out of it. And then the long-term project. Long-term give you bigger money, but that money comes at an expense. It comes after a long, long time. Some of those long-term projects I consider long-term. I consider goat farming as a long-term project. I consider cattle farming as a long-term. I consider matoke farming as a long-term project. I consider coffee farming as a long-term project. So those of you who are looking for investment, for retirement, long-term would be the ideal position for you. But as you invest in long-term, think of something mid-term and short-term to help you push yourself through those times when you are waiting for the long-term projects to earn you some income. Some of us, we almost went into depression, remember, because I invested in goat farming and also invested in banana farming in the shortest time possible. And most of them, both of them, we are not earning by that time. It really costed me that even somebody mere sending me a message inviting me for a baby shower somewhere, I would feel so bad, I would block them because I didn't have any money to give to anyone. These are the mistakes I made. I don't want anybody else to go through these kind of mistakes. Farmers, when you're going to mixed farming, consider the labor available in your areas. Some of us have made mistakes where you start a project, midway you completely fail to get somebody to work there. That even after you have enticed them with lots and lots of money, people don't want to work. Some of the things that made me stop my poultry project was because of labor unavailability. It so happened that at one given point, I started my Kenny-Bro chicken. I started with 5,000 birds. They were really growing on well, doing so well. They were healthy. And I trained this person from the beginning how to look after, and this person was doing so well. And then out of the blue, this person decided to leave. He decided to leave, and I had no way out. You get the point. Imagine the shock you have, and you have so many other activities where you're engaged on. So I decided, you know what? Things that require my everyday kind of labor or my kind of everyday presence, I'm doing away with them. And that's how I ended up with stopping the poultry project at Ego because of labor unavailability. So a farmer watching me, you want to set up a project. How available is the labor? How sustainable is it with the employees you have? Some of the biggest challenges we are facing as farmers, especially goat farmers, we are failing to get employees to work in our goat farms. And we are recycling the thieves that they steal from Boj, then they run to another farm. So these are some of the things. Do people want to work in that particular project? For example, some of the things I usually interact with the boys, and they usually tell us, man, looking after 10 cows on zero grazing, I rather had 400 cows. You get my point. So consider yourself, if you are near like a trading center, how available is the labor you are going to use on your farm. The other point to consider as a mixed farmer is the availability of land. Some of us happen to have been to so many farms. We visit as many farms, and we have visited people with very big lands. We have visited people with very small lands. Recently I was in Kenya and I visited a farmer with just 1 acre of land, and this person had over 100 sheep there, and they are also growing vegetables on the same piece of land with some poultry. How do you do this? This requires you lots and lots of planning. But some of us, what we do here, we do in Uganda here, the farms I've been to, they do a little bit of each and everything. That is not going to earn you income unless you are into hobby farming. But if you want to earn an income, you need to plan well. You need to visit farmers who have successfully done mixed farming on a small piece of land. That's all I had for you today, guys. Please, if you are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe and do not forget to leave us a comment. We shall always give you feedback. Let's hear from you what you have to say about this topic. Thank you. Bye-bye.